Have you ever wondered what it takes to fix a subscription business? You launch your business and everything's fine. Everybody wants to join. Subscriptions, subscribers are up, and people are joining every day. Then something changes, and you don't know why. What do you do? Hey, I'm your host, Zachary Alexander. On today's episode, we're going to talk about what you need to do to troubleshoot and track down those little things that can turn your world around or turn your world upside down if you don't fix them. For the record, the short answer is theory. That's right, theory. You thought you'd gotten over theory. Maybe that was something you could get rid of, something you wouldn't have to deal with. It's something that was left in the past. It's something that you had to do when you were in school, but now that you're an adult and you're outside of school, you don't have to think about it again. And my answer to you is theory is how you troubleshoot complex communication systems. Until you understand exactly what's going on or how it should work, it's difficult to track down why it isn't working. Okay, for example, you've got leads coming in, but nothing's going out. You're getting no profits. You can't figure out where things are turning around, what you should do next. What I like to do is I like to go on a binge and I find out as much as I can, as quick as I can about whatever system I'm working on. Now, I've spent my whole career, my entire professional life, troubleshooting complex communication systems. I started with satellites. I moved on from there. I worked on private networks, some of those that predated the internet or the commercial internet. And then I went on to work with companies that were supporting the internet. And most recently, I've been working my way through the AWS ecosystems so that I could troubleshoot systems that were based on it. But I'm here to tell you, it all starts the same way. You figure out as much as you can about the system, then you create a mental model. And I like to create an actual model. And here's my model for what business looks like and or what subscription businesses look like. Now, when things are going well, basically you'll see that on the left-hand side of your screen. If you, for those who are only doing the audio or who only have the audio, what we have is we have a black box, your typical black box. It's got dials on one side, it's got input outputs on the other side, and some feedback. So on the left-hand side, you have your inputs, you have your output, and your feedback. And that's kind of how it works. So now you can ask, it's okay to ask. It's like, what does this mean for me? I'm not a system troubleshooter. I don't design complex communication systems. And with that, I would say maybe, maybe not. If you're a business owner, if you're a founder of a new company, the way I look at it, that's a complex communication system. I mean, there is nothing more complex than working on a system like a business, working in a department, putting together a department, putting together SOPs. I mean, what are SOPs if not communication? So my question to you then is, do you communicate? If you say yes, and are the communications complex? Do you have to worry about stepping on toes? Do you have to worry about motivating people? Do you have to worry about how you convince people that what they're doing may not be helping the company? If you're doing all those things, that's complex. I mean, there's very little more that is more complex than human communication. So, my friend, at this point, you are now a designer of complex communication systems. And when they go wrong, you have to troubleshoot them. So if that's not good enough for you, then let's try an actual example, something most people can deal with. Like most people can understand where I'm coming from on this one. Give me just a little 1 second here. Got to bring in the big question. Doesn't let me bring it in. And I'm having issues with my. Give me 1 second here. Let me kill this. Get rid of the Outlook. So basically, you have the big question. And the big question is, how do I get more customers? I mean, that's what it always comes down to. How do I get more customers? If you have that question, then you need to troubleshoot. You need to figure out what's going wrong and why isn't it working. Now, for the short answer, basically, there are three ways to get more customers: online self service, sales targeted service. That's where your sales team goes out and they target people and they prospect and they convince them to purchase your service, and referrals. Now, we won't get into referrals today, or we won't get into referrals right now, mainly because this black box here doesn't handle referrals. So if you're trying to use a traditional business model, the traditional way of modern business practice, referrals aren't actually covered. They don't show up on here. Why? Because referrals aren't a part of customer acquisition. These are the things that are part of customer acquisition: sales, marketing, and full cycle upsells. Referrals is not a part of that. Referrals live in another business unit. Referrals live in the subscription flywheel. It's that business unit, the flywheel business unit. That's where referrals live. They live under partner programs. In some regard, and basically that's where they live. That's how you deal with referrals at scale. You create a partner program. It's not ad hoc. Now let's go back to where we were. Let's go back and talk about the black the modern business practice. So the modern business practice says that inputs go in, leads go in, and the output is profit. Now, when you want to increase your profits using this modern business model, what you do is you go over to your customer acquisition piece. Once again, that's sales and that's marketing. That's how you increase profits. That's how you increase the business flow in your company. That's how you make money. You sell you do well. Let's get into what you do here. So going back to our business model, on the front panel, the left-hand side of of your box here, your modern business practice. I know it looks like a black box, and for a lot of people, that's where they think of it. It is a black box. You add more leads to it and profits come out the other side, you know. So what you do is you crank up according to our model here. If you want more sales, if you want more profits, what you do is you crank up the CA unit or the customer acquisition unit. You invest more and you dial up. I mean, you dial for dollars. But what does that mean? Well, it depends on the decisions you've made about how you want to acquire customers. Now, if you look at our customer acquisition unit and what's involved in it, you've got two pieces. We're not dealing with referrals right now. You've got online self service and you got sales targeted, the sales targeted group. And these are basically your salespeople. So when online self-service, what that means is when you're cranking up the CA unit, what you're doing, if you want online sales, if you want to increase online sales, then you're basically investing in marketing. I mean, that's what you're doing here. So let's go to the actual customer acquisition unit and see those pieces. So if you want online sales, then you're investing in marketing. If you want to increase your targeted sales, then you increase the sales, the number of salespeople you have, and that is easy to follow as long as you're only doing one or the other. It becomes problematic if you're doing both. When you crank it up, then how do you allocate it? Is the allocation working? Now all of a sudden, the this our model of how modern business practices work, that becomes a problem. Now it gets further complicated if you're telling me that you also want referrals. Now, and for the most part, what I'm going to tell you at this point is that in reality, most companies really don't care that much about referrals. I mean, it's nice if it comes in, it's great. We'll book that money just like everything else. But we're not going to do anything that's going to, apart from sending you to a school so we can say, yeah, we care about referral. We care about our partners. But beyond that, we're not going to do a whole bunch about it. And the reason is because, you know, if there was a real desire to improve referrals, then you would need something like the subscription flywheel here. You would need a way, you would need a partner program. You would need some way or some ongoing group to manage the people, the ecosystem that refers business to you. Now there's a problem with that. The problem is this: you can't control that ecosystem. I mean, you can help it out, you can be polite, you can do the things that engender people wanting to help you, but you can't control by just throwing dollars at it, by cranking up the volume. You can't control people coming in. You can't control who they are. You can't control what they look like, the kinds of problems that they have. You can't control that. What you can do is you can basically say, okay, I want this one kind of person. This is my target, my avatar. But what happens if your business is it's possible for your business to have more than one avatar? It becomes really dicey at this point. Now, generally, what happens at this point, people start to say, well, uh, let's go to this. If we go back to our modern business practices here, we have feedback. So referrals, they're kind of in that feedback vein. You could say, okay, I've got people who are telling me what they want. They're providing me with feedback. Normally, what this means is that what they're doing is they're complaining. You've given them a product and they don't like the way it works. They don't know how it works. They don't know what it takes to make it work. At that point, you get chatter. Now, if you're looking at if you're on the YouTube video, if you're on the live stream, what you'll see is that there are two terminals. Now, these are old school terminals. I mean, this is the kind of thing you would hook up to a monitor. Basically, you'd have the two prongs and they would slip underneath and then you would tighten it down on top of that. That's what we're looking at here. And everybody knows where that monitor is. That monitor goes up to management and it's great. Uh, but we know that the only time that someone's gonna want to crank it up is when they're hearing a lot of noise. When a lot of people are complaining. And that really doesn't do justice to that second knob over there on the right hand side, the CS unit. Now, in our model, CS stands for customer success, but actually it stands for a lot less than what's possible with customer success. Basically, with the CS unit, when you turn that knob on modern business practices, when you crank it, what you're going to get is you're going to get more customer support. And more customer support is not going to maximize the opportunities you have with your current customer base. It's going to basically, hopefully, convince them to calm down, but it's going to leave a lot of money on the table. And one of the reasons for starting this channel was really to help people and organizations, business owners, founders, help them to maximize the income they receive, to maximize the profits they engender, to basically make more money. And the way you do that is actually with customer success. I mean, customer success should be your biggest money maker in your company because basically what you're doing is you're trying to convince people to give you more money once they already trust you. So that should be one of the easiest sales you make. You are simply providing them what they want based on what they've told you, which is another group. But you're just basically customer success. The number one way they make money for the companies are number one, upsells and upgrades. So they give you something different so that you'll spend more money and they give you an upgrade. Now, this is so important that it's got its own calculation. It's called net dollar retention. And what it means is, are you making more money with the same group of people than this year than you were last year? If you make more money this year versus last year, then your net dollar retention is going to go up. And we expect that to happen. So much so, I mean, few companies are going to do it as well as Salesforce. Few companies are going to have a 75% net dollar. They're not going to make 75% of their profits through their current customer base through upsells and upgrades, but we can hope. I mean, that's the plan. The plan is to make all of our money through upgrades and upsells. Now, what that means is that customer success is going to help your customers understand what's available to them and provide them with opportunities to buy more from you. They also are going to pass They're going to pass some customers where there are new opportunities that require an entirely different relationship. So let's head over to customer acquisition. So if you have a customer that's identified using customer success, but the relationship is different. So all of a sudden you're dealing with a different part of a large organization. Now you want to pass that back. And we call that like full cycle upsells. That's where you've got to go through and you've got to create an entirely new relationship. So you want your top guns on that. You don't want people who are just, whoever's available sitting on the bench. No, you want your top guns going in and you want them to bring home the bacon just like they've done before. At that point, now you've got a whole different revenue stream, an entirely different way to do upsells and upgrades, compounding what you've already done. Now, as we start to wrap up, I hope that helps you understand what's needed to actually hope that helps you understand what's needed to troubleshoot an actual problem within your company, within your subscription business. You need a model. You need to understand you need a model. You need to understand what's possible. You need to understand how things are supposed to work. What happens when you make a change? How is your business supposed to react? If you know that, then you're well on your way to troubleshooting your own complex communication system. And I want to thank you for being on the live stream today. You have a nice day.